What's up, everybody? Thanks again for clicking on the video. This will be my review of Greenleaf Season 2, Episode 2, entitled Strange Bedfellows. Okay, and now my reviews are generally for people who have been watching these shows already, so you kind of have an idea of what's going on. But I also try to review in such a way where if you want to know what the show is about, you get a pretty good idea from the things that I say as well. So anyway, let's get started. So Bishop Greenleaf is still not telling Jacob, he's still not talking to him, and he's not telling him about the fact that Basie claims to be Daryl James's son. And as many of you know, Daryl James is the fella that was burned in the church fire that was initiated by Bishop Greenleaf and Matt about 30 years ago. But he died in this fire unexpectedly. Bishop was talking to May at the beginning of the episode, and he explains to her that he doesn't remember Daryl James having any sons. The only thing he remembers is 2 daughters that he has. But Lady May insists, or she starts talking about the fact that perhaps Basie could be an outside child, because we all know that a lot of times there are men that have outside children that not everybody knows are their kids. So this could be one of those situations. Okay, then it shows Kevin. Kevin is the husband of Charity, the youngest daughter of the Greenleafs. And he is the one that is actually struggling with his sexuality. He loves his wife, he loves his newborn baby, but he has these feelings for men that he's never pursued before. But he's never pursued them, but he is struggling with an attraction for men. So I'm going to talk about Kevin briefly, because he didn't have a big role in this particular episode, but I want to go and get him out the way. Well, Kevin, when they show Kevin at first, he's been spending the night at a hotel. And he's been doing this ever since last season of Greenleaf, when he actually confessed to Charity that he was struggling with homosexuality, and she treated the man as if he had already cheated on her, which he had. He said he had never been with a man before, he's never cheated on her, and he loved her, and he wanted to try to make things work in his marriage. But she didn't feel comfortable with him anymore, and so she pretty much asked him to leave the house for a little while. And that's what he did. So he's been sleeping in hotels ever since. And he's obviously been missing his family, because he wakes up in the middle of the night, and on the lamp table beside the bed, he's got a picture of Charity and the baby. And he picks it up and he stares at it, and you can see that he misses them. Well, one day when he was at work, he was walking down the hallway, because he works for the church. He was walking down the vestibule, and he runs into, I think her name is Denise. She's the church secretary. He runs into her, and she tells him, she asked him, so how's the baby? How's the rash? And he was like, rash? She's like, what rash? And she was like, the rash he was trying to get over. So he had to pretend and play it off as if he knew something about it. But in reality, Charity didn't tell him anything about his baby having a rash. So he plays it off, and he tells her, thank you for checking on the baby. She gives him a gift card, Denise that is, and he walks off. But then he stands there and he looks crazy, because it's obvious that he didn't know anything about this rash. So later on that night, he goes by the house to see Charity, and he confronts her. He gives her this gift card from Denise, and he asks her why didn't she tell him about this rash that their baby had. And she was like, because I didn't think it was a big deal. And he told her it was a big deal. I would have wanted to know this, because he's feeling like she's leaving him out as it is. It's not just about the baby and the rash. It's about the fact that she's not including him in anything, and she's treating this man like an outsider. So he tells her he feels like he's being punished. And she says she feels like she's being punished. But he says he's the only one that's trying to make this marriage work. And he's being honest. He's telling the truth. He wants to make his marriage work. But she's literally been giving him the cold shoulder since he made this confession to her last season. So, like I said, he tells her, look, I'm the only one who's been trying to make this marriage work. So she stops and she thinks about it. And she actually tells him that she's sorry. She apologizes to him. And so the baby starts crying, and of course, out of instinct, she's getting ready to go and check on the baby, but he stops her and he tells her, I'll go do it. I'll go take care of my own baby. So she lets him go ahead on and take care of the baby. She sits down on the sofa. And then they show them a little later on in the episode, the two of them are sitting outside on the balcony, and they're actually talking and having a good conversation about old times, about when they first started dating. So things seem to be rather pleasant between them at this moment. She has decided to let him in for a minute, and she communicates with him. She's talking to him, and she even invites him to spend the night. Now, how you invite your own husband, the father of your child, to spend the night at his own house? But anyway, she does. She tells him, well, why don't you stay over, and that way you can wake up with the baby in the morning. Of course, Kevin is happy about this. He, of course, tells her, yes, I will stay at the house with you and the baby tonight. So things seem to be good, at least in the meantime. Okay, back to the Greenleafs. Okay, Zora. And this is just something that's going on in the episode. Zora is Jacob's child, Bishop Greenleaf's granddaughter. She's about 14, 15 years old. Now, she's trying to get Sophia to make a move on this Isaiah Hambrick boy, this light-skinned fella that was singing at the concert from last week. She likes him. She's got a crush on him, and she wants to date him. She wants to go out with him. And so little fast Zora, because we know she hot to try it. And Sophia's kind of shy. But Zora's trying to get her to actually make the first move on this boy. She wants her to text him and do all this kind of stuff. But of course, Sophia won't do it. But Zora tells her that she can go see Isaiah at his rehearsal that he's going to have. So at some point later on in the episode, he actually sends Sophia a text message. I think she may have texted him first, but he does send her a text message, and he invites Sophia to come out to his rehearsal that he has. So Zora agrees to accompany her to this rehearsal, and when they get there, you can obviously see that both of them are smitten. Not just Sophia, but Zora is also swooning over Isaiah herself. You can see it, but she doesn't say it. After the rehearsal is over, Isaiah comes over and he speaks to Sophia, but Sophia just runs up and she just grabs a hold of the boy and she starts hugging on him. I'm talking about real thirsty, like real thirsty. And Zora playing it cool. Zora trying to act like she don't even want him. She being playing hard to get. But Sophia, remember now, Sophia is the one that's supposed to like him. And she's hoping that he likes her too. But you notice that he's paying more attention to Zora. He even says that he's been asking around about her. See, Zora's the little fast one. She's the little hot to try one. And you know these little boys like those kind of girls. They don't want the good girl. They want that little hot mama over there. And Zora is that one. She'll try anything. So Sophia's noticing that he's noticing Zora and not her. He's not paying her any attention. But of course, Zora's trying to play it off like she don't want him. But it's obvious that she does. So anyway, they go on from that scene, and I think he agrees to call Sophia or something like that. But they basically leave out from that scene with the acknowledgement that he wants Zora and not Sophia. But he's pretending like he does to save face, you know. Okay, Gigi, there's this man played by Rick Fox. His name is Mr. Nash, and he's a lawyer. And Gigi has been talking to him, and he actually likes Gigi, and he asks Gigi out on a date. Gigi turns him down. She says she doesn't want to go on a date for whatever reason. He's like, I understand, but he can't understand why she won't go out with him. And that's all they show of their initial contact on this episode. Lady May and the bishop are sitting around having a meeting, trying to decide where to cut corners because they've been losing money. And they've been losing money not only because of the scandal of the things that people have heard about the bishop and this church he burned down 30 years ago, but also because, as I mentioned in the last episode, the fact that they've got a gay man that's directing the choir, and he has a husband that goes to the church, and people feel like they've been flaunting their sexuality in front of the church. And half the deacon board has refused to pledge or give money to the church, and a lot of the members have left and they refuse to give money to the church. So Bishop Greenleaf and Lady May are sitting there, you know, they pull their heads together trying to decide who they're going to fire and what they're going to do about the situation, because they're trying to get the church. Now, since Bishop Greenleaf, all the charges have been dropped against him, they're now trying to get the church back to the status that it was at before all of this mess came out about Matt and about the bishop. So they decide that they are going, but matter of fact, Lady May is waiting on Bishop Wilcox, not Bishop, but Deacon, not the Deacon, but Betty Wilcox, one of the board members. They're waiting on her to actually give some money, and apparently she gives a big check every year for her pledge. Well, she's holding her pledge, and she won't give it until Lady May fires the gay choir director. Okay? If you remember in the last episode, I was telling you how when they saw the choir director kiss his husband in church, they were real disgusted when they saw it. So she got a problem with it. So she's not going to get no money until they do what she wants them to do. Okay? So this is the kind of stuff that goes on in church. A lot of times things are all about money and about doing what's right. It's about money. But Lady May decides that, okay, we're going to fire the choir director. And his name is Carlton, okay? So Gigi comes in the office because Lady May done left her she's left a crystal eagle on her desk. And every time Lady May wants to talk, she leaves this eagle on Gigi's desk to let her know, I need you to come talk to me. So Gigi goes into the office with her and the bishop, and Lady May tells Gigi, I need you to fire Carlton. Of course, Gigi is reluctant to do so because she likes Carlton, and of course she doesn't have any problem with him being gay. But Lady May does, and but she tells her it has nothing to do with his sexuality. It's all because they need to make some budget cuts, and so we need to get rid of him to save money, okay? So Gigi agrees to do it, but she don't want to do it. Lady May told her she doesn't have any choice. You're the associate pastor. This is your job. If you can't do it, let me go ahead and do it myself. But of course, Gigi tells her, no, I'll do it, okay? So Gigi leaves, and the first thing she does is she goes to Charity, because Charity doesn't know that this man is about to be fired. So she tells Charity that Lady May and the bishop want her to fire Carlton. Of course, Charity's upset about it because Charity's like, well, who's going to help me? I need somebody to help me. I'm overwhelmed as it is. I just had a baby. What am I going to do? I'm working on this album. I need him. Who's going to direct the choir? So, but Gigi tells her, well, you're going to have to do it. But Gigi also tells her, she says, Charity, you could go talk to Lady May and the bishop because you're the only one that can stop this from happening. So Charity agrees to go and talk to Lady May and the bishop to try to get them to change their mind. And Gigi says, okay, well, you go talk to him and let me know what happens. And Charity thanks her for including her in what's going on, because in the past season, Charity made it clear to Gigi that she didn't like the fact that they leave her out of everything. Everybody treats her like she's a baby or like she's dumb, which she is kind of dumb anyway. But she thanks Gigi for including her this time, okay? So then Jacob, the son of the bishop, he doesn't believe that his father has his best interests at heart when he tries to tell him about Basie Skanks. Whenever he tells him anything about Basie, he feels like he's being paranoid, and he just wants to stop him from, doing well at this new church that he's going to be preaching up. But it's obvious that he still thinks about everything that the bishop tells him. He thinks about it. He has at least been considering it, because one day he goes to Basie Skanks and he asks Basie Skanks, or he tells Basie Skanks that the next time he's got some big news to tell him, like at the concert last week, he announced that he was going to make Jacob the pastor of the new church, and he didn't tell Jacob. Jacob asked him, would you please, just next time you got something you want to tell me big, could you please give me a heads up? And Basie's excuse was that he didn't know. He said, I didn't know until the Lord told me. He said, I couldn't tell you till the Lord told me. So he lied on the Lord and said the Lord told him to tell Jacob at that concert that he's going to be the pastor of the new church. But of course, Jacob doesn't believe him. He's like, you mean to tell me that you didn't know this already? I just don't believe you didn't know this already. So that's when Basie kind of snaps on him, and he tells him, he says, your daddy has been basically holding you back from doing what you want to do. He said, but then you come over here to me, and in 3 months' time, I done gave you a house somewhere to live. I done gave you a job. I just done made your dreams come true. And he says, don't ever accuse me of lying again. And it was at that moment that you see that Basie ain't no good. He ain't nothing but a little pimp is what he is. And you can see it. Very arrogant and snapping. When he snapped at him, you could see the little wickedness in him, okay? Because he's a small man, but he's a little mean little man too. He's nice on the surface, but you cross him wrong, he'll cut you. And that's what he did then. He told Jacob, don't ever question him again. And then he changed his tune, and he was like, you got to trust me. I'm your brother. And so he walks out with him and everything. And so Jacob doesn't say anything about that. They chit-chat a little bit more, and he goes on about his business, okay? So he tells Jacob before he leaves, he tells him to go door to door in the community and start inviting people to come to Triumph #2. But of course, Jacob was like, why would I do that? Most of those people already go to Calvary, where Bishop Greenleaf preaches. But Basie tells him, well, that's why they should be glad to see you. So go ahead on and go door to door and invite these people. Like I said, he said, praise God, and he dances on off like a little demon that he is, okay? Charity is still working with her producer, Jabari. And he is obviously, when they're rehearsing the song and everything, you could tell the way he looks at her that he's obviously smitten with her. And it looks like she's kind of attracted to him too, but of course nobody's saying anything. And it was at that moment when they were rehearsing that Gigi came in and wanted to talk to her, and Gigi told her about the fact that the bishop and Lady May wanted her, Gigi, to fire Carlton, okay? So what happens is that Charity decides, she says, okay, I am going to talk to Lady May, and she's going to talk to her mama, and she's going to talk to the bishop, okay? So she goes to talk to him. And of course, Lady May does not budge. Lady May refuses to change her mind. She was like, no, we've got to make these budget cuts. She tells her, Lady May tells her, this has nothing to do with you. She tells her, Charity says to her, she says, can't we cut the budget somewhere else? Isn't there somewhere, something else we can stop spending money on? And Lady May says, well, it's either going to be Carlton or it's going to be Jabari, her producer, the one who's producing her album. She said, we've already cut a check for $50,000 for him. And so Charity's like, oh, no. Charity says, no, even though she's upset about having to fire Carlton because she promised Carlton that he would never lose another job because of his sexuality again, because obviously it had happened to him before. And she said she didn't want to look like a liar, but she also did not want Jabari to be fired either. She would rather have Jabari, so she decided to accept the fate that Lady May had put out for Carlton, and she agrees that, okay, Carlton has to go because she would rather keep Jabari. Okay, so she leaves. So the next day or a couple of days later, obviously Gigi has taken too long firing Carlton. So Lady May finally decides to do it on her own. And she sits down, she talks, she invites him to the office, and she tells him that due to budget cuts, she was going to have to let him go because he is the last person hired in the music department, and naturally he would be the first one to go. And but he doesn't believe her. He tells her, he asks her, does she believe in same-sex marriages? And she tells him basically no, she agrees with what the Bible says about marriage and what it should be. But she told him this has nothing to do with your sexuality. This simply has something to do with the state of the finances of the churches. She said there was no way that they could have predicted last year that they would lose money like they've been losing it. So, but the reality of it is she is firing him because of what everybody is saying and because they are losing money. So she was telling the truth and she was lying at the same time. It was a convenient lie is what it was. Like it was an alternative fact, like Kellyanne Conway and them say. It was for budget cuts, but the budget cuts were due to the fact that people had a problem with this gay man being over the choir and the fact that he was flaunting his husband around in the church. But she didn't tell him that, okay? All right. So, of course, he has to accept this, and he has to go about his business. He's obviously upset, and I feel sorry for him at this point, too, because, I understand we have our beliefs about things. But like he told her, she knew he was gay when they hired him. So why would you fire him now? And they know this man needed his job. So I really feel like the way she did what she did was wrong. They should never have hired him if she had a problem with his homosexuality. She never should have hired him, but the way she did it was wrong, okay? So now this man has got to try to find him another job, okay? All right, Matt keeps calling May. She says he's blowing her phone up and she's tired of him. This is what she's telling the bishop one day. But this particular day when Matt calls her, he calls her to tell her that her father, Henry McCready, is actually dying that day. She claims that Matt tells her that every other day, but this particular day he's supposed to be really dying. So the bishop tries to insist that May goes to see her daddy. But May says, I don't need to talk to him. I don't need to reconcile nothing with him. All I needed him to do was to testify for you to get you out of trouble. Make sure you didn't go to prison. That's enough for me. So she decides not to go see her daddy. Okay. Jacob has been going door to door trying to recruit people to come to Triumph. He doesn't say that, but that's what he's doing. And he's giving out mugs and stuff to people, and the people don't want to hear it. The people are like, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. One lady told him, look, I can't believe you doing this. You ought to be ashamed. Why are you trying to recruit people? One lady said, I don't want no mug from you. So basically, he out there getting embarrassed and getting his feelings hurt trying to recruit people to leave Calvary to go to Triumph. But, hey, Basie told him to do it. He had to do it. Okay, so the bishop goes to the hospital to pray for Henry, and he also goes to ask Henry if he remembers whether or not Daryl James had a son named at all back in the day, because he doesn't remember a son. He remembers 2 daughters. But Mr. McCready Henry is so out of it, he doesn't even respond to the bishop. So while the bishop is trying to talk to him, Mac comes in, and Henry McCready screams. He says, Mac. He calls Mac's name. So Mac comes on in the room, and of course the bishop gets ready. He leaves, and as he's walking past Mac calls his name. He's like, Bishop, but the bishop don't want to hear nothing he got to say. He said, don't you dare speak to me. He said, I have forgiven you. I had to forgive you. But he tells him, but you're going to, he said, even though I had to forgive you, I'm going to leave you with your father, Henry, until you have to deal with our father, meaning God. So he ain't got nothing else for Mac at all. He's done with Mac. Now, while Mac is in there talking to his daddy tells him that he don't want to die. And Mac is saying, I know, and he's crying. He's upset, obviously. And Mac tells him that everything's going to be all right. He calls himself consoling Henry while he's laying there dying. He told him it's going to be like when he threw him into that cold river. I guess back when he was a child, he said it was cold and it was scary. And he said, then you're going to swim all the way across to the arms of Jesus. He said, yeah, you're going to swim all the way to the Lord. Now, that's his version of consoling him, telling him it's going to be cold and it's going to be scary. But he was so serious when he said it. I'm like, oh my God, if I was on my deathbed, that would be the last thing I would want to hear. Cold and scary, like being thrown into a cold river. But okay then, Mac, whatever. He crazy. We already know he's sick. Okay. So, let's see now, Clarissa goes with Basie's wife to view the parsonage, because this parsonage is where Basie and his wife used to live before they got this big church and they got a new house. And so she's basically playing real estate agent, and she's going to let Clarissa view the house. And so they pull up to this house. It's a small house. It's a simple house. It's not a bad looking house. It's comfortable, but it's not like the Greenleaf mansion that they were used to. Clarissa's obviously disappointed, and she looking all crazy, balling her face up, frowning and everything. You could tell she was not impressed at all with the house. Basie's wife tells her, she offers to help her decorate and do everything to make her feel at home, but like I said, Clarissa ain't too happy about it, but she don't book, but you can tell she just So Charity comes to Gigi, and she tells Gigi that the decision is set. Mama's gonna fire Carlton. So Gigi tries to get Charity to actually rebel against Lady May and the bishop. She wants Charity to stand up and fight for what she wants. Now, I thought Gigi was wrong in that essence, because it's not Charity's church. Charity ain't got nothing to say about who the bishop and Lady May hires and fires around there. But Gigi is trying to get her to stand up to them and tell them that she doesn't want him fired and all that. Well, anyway, Charity tells her, no, I ain't like you. I ain't on no crusade like you. She said, I'm through with it. They done made their decision. I'm done. She didn't tell them about they gave her the option of getting rid of Jabari. But she just tells them she's not going to fight her mom and daddy. So then Gigi finally calls Mr. Nash, you know, the man that asked her out on a date. But she tells him she don't want to go on a date. She just wants to meet with him to talk. And so they go to this bar type place and they have beer and they dance and everything. And they talk a little bit about what's happening. She let him know that the bishop then wanted her to fire Carlton, because at this point she doesn't know that Carlton had been fired by Lady Mae. But she's talking to him and she's asking him what he thinks, and he just basically says, well, you know, things like that happen, and you know, unfortunately, but he can't really give her any real advice about it. So they just get up, they drinking their beer, and they just start dancing and having a good time. And that's the end of it. Yeah, this preacher lady, because we know Gigi is a pastor, she out there drinking beer and dancing at the club. But I'm not surprised, because Gigi never really came there to be holy. She just came there really to stop Mac from doing what he was doing and to get him thrown in jail. She's still on a mission to do so. As a matter of fact, in the first couple of episodes, Gigi made it clear to the family that she does not believe in the Bible like they believe in the Bible. She made it clear that she is an alternative thinker when it comes down to Christianity and religion and anything that has anything to do with it. Okay? So I'm not surprised that she was at this club dancing and drinking beer. But anyway, so when she's sitting in her office one day, Lady Mae comes in there and she tells the first thing she says to Lady Mae is, I'm getting ready to go and fire Carlton today, because she thought Lady Mae was coming in there to rush her. But Lady Mae said, don't worry about it, I've already done it. Okay? So Gigi feels real bad about this. And so Gigi goes to see Carlton at his house because she wants to check on him, and she wants to make sure that he has no plans of suing the church as well. At least that's the impression we get, because when she tried to talk to him and let him know that she was sorry, he told her, don't worry, I'm not going to sue. And she kind of exhaled at that point. So she was going to make sure that he wasn't going to sue them. And she also asked him, was he going to come back to the church? Of course, him and his boyfriend looked crazy at her because they were outside fixing the car when she walked up. Both of them looked at her crazy, but she told him the only way to change the church is if they stay there at the church. If they wanted things to change, they needed to stay there and change them. So he just looked at her, and he never said anything. And so then they go to Kevin, back to Kevin, the one struggling with his homosexuality. Kevin is going to one of his group meetings, and the coordinator of the meetings, after the meeting is over, he asks him about his wife and family. He's like, where's your wife? I'm looking forward to meeting her. I hadn't seen her at one of these meetings yet. So he's trying to find out why his wife hadn't come there. And he told him, well, she doesn't want to come right now. And the coordinator tells him, well, you need to go home and be a man. Put your foot down, be a man. That's probably what she wants you to do anyway, is be a man. And I think that's the best advice that Kevin could have gotten on this show. Okay, he told him, go home and be a man. That's probably what she wants anyway. Okay. May, on the other hand, is still trying to get the bishop to talk to Jacob and tell Jacob about Basie and about the fact that Basie is supposed to be the son of Daryl James, and that's why Basie is doing what he's doing. The only reason Basie gave Jacob that job is to get back at the bishop. She wants the bishop to explain that Basie is using Jacob. Okay, she wants, but the bishop doesn't want to do it, and they had a conversation, and he kind of resents May for trying to force Jacob on him as a pastor. He just never thought that Jacob was good at preaching. That's the reason why he did not want to make him a pastor. He accuses Lady Mae of being jealous of Gigi. She's like, you didn't want Gigi to be the pastor, because Gigi was the one that he felt like had the anointing to be a pastor, not Jacob. So it's kind of like Jacob and Esau in the Bible. Isaac preferred Jacob and Rebecca preferred Esau. And so both of them were at odds about who was going to inherit everything, inherit the promise. And of course, by birthright, Esau, it belonged to Esau. This is biblical. But of course, Isaac didn't want to give it to Esau. Well, he was going to give it to Esau, but Rebecca wanted Jacob to have it. And Esau was the one that Isaac wanted to have it, as it should have been. So you know the trickery there. Anybody know the story in the Bible? This particular story, to me, between Jacob and Gigi, mirrors the story in the Bible. Okay? So one night the bishop finally decides to talk to try to talk to Jacob about Basie. Basie's standing up in the dining room looking out the window, and the bishop walks up on him, and as soon as he tried to talk to him, Jacob interrupts him. And he doesn't even let him finish what he has to say. His daddy said, "Oh, you ain't gonna let me talk? You ain't gonna let me finish?" He was like, no, I don't want to hear nothing you got to say. He basically says that his daddy calls his dad a false prophet. He says that Basie may be boo-boo the fool. Basie may be a lot of things, but at least he's not a false prophet. So he done called his dad a false prophet. His dad look at him crazy. He done hurt the bishop feeling at this point. And see, to me, I'm mad because Jacob done forgot why his daddy sat him down in the first place. He done forgot that he had an affair with that chick, Alexis, last season. And that's pretty much the only reason the bishop sat him down. Of course, it was, it didn't take much because the bishop didn't want him up there preaching anyway. So when he did, so as soon as he gave him a reason, the bishop took it and ran with it. When he cheated with that woman last season, the bishop used that to get rid of him as a pastor. And so he's mad, or Jacob is mad about that. He also feels like his daddy doesn't respect him nor appreciates him as a man, as a pastor, or his son. So after that conversation with his daddy, he decides, he goes into the room, he tells Clarissa, "You know what, my daddy don't respect me. We need to leave. I know you don't like that parsonage, but we're going to be out of here first thing next week." So he's pissed at this time. So it comes time for them to leave, and he's packed up all his stuff. All the family is standing out on the porch, and they're watching him get in the car. They say their goodbyes, and he leaves and goes away. May tells Gigi, "Oh, I got that check from Betty Wilcox." And Gigi tells her, "Well, congratulations." So right now, there's a lot of tension in the family. Jacob done left, and he's driving off, and Clarissa's trying to comfort him while they're in the car. And you can tell he's upset about leaving, but the bishop never put Jacob out the house. Jacob decided on his own that he wanted to leave because he's mad. He's mad because the bishop will not promote him as a co-pastor like he did Gigi. But his daddy don't see that in him. He can't accept that. He feels he's spoiled. He's a little bit spoiled because Lady May got him thinking he deserved more than what he do deserve. Okay? And so, yeah, there's a lot of tension in that house between Gigi and Lady May, between Jacob and the bishop, which of course we know Jacob has left. That house is just kind of in an uproar at this point. And this coming Wednesday is supposed to be really good. I'll be glad to see what is going to happen and what's going to become of everybody's relationship, because right now everybody is walking on eggshells with each other. So if you haven't started watching Greenleaf, I keep saying, go back and watch it. It's a good series. It's one of the best that I have seen. That's why I'm so adamant about doing these reviews. I'm sorry it's 5 days late. Of course, I'm going to try my best to get up the 3 reviews for Empire, for Greenleaf, and for Underground by next Thursday. I do a radio show on Wednesday night, and so I have to play catch up like the next day on all 3 shows. So y'all bear with me. I hope I was clear and concise in this video. Thank you for listening to me and being patient with me. So until next time, this has been a Fair Play review. Y'all have a great night, and I'll see you hopefully on Wednesday, unless I got something else I want to talk about between now and then. All right, y'all. Take care now. Bye-bye.